Welcome to the Relationship Manifesto, Ep.3. I'm Chris Smith, known as Shambles Guru on the internet, and I'm here with Dr. Stephen Whitehead, and we're talking about his book, the Relationship Manifesto. Stephen is an academic, an author, a relationship coach, and a researcher. He's also a bit brainier than I am, so I'm feeling a little intimidated. Stephen, welcome again.
Not true.
welcome again. And if you've listened to the first two podcasts, you'll know that we're trying to cover. I should be more positive. I keep saying trying. We are covering one chapter in the book in each podcast, and the two things are actually going along parallel with each other. And this one is called "Your Soulmates Are Waiting," and I'm also going to start each of these episodes with. By asking Stephen to do his elevator pitch. So he has 60 seconds, but trust me, the podcast will last longer than 60 seconds. 60 seconds to give the sort of the key words, key phrases, what's behind this title of this chapter, Your Soulmates Are Waiting.
Go. Okay. Well, the first chapter, Relationships Fail, it was a bit on the... that looked at some of the harder realities of relationships. This second chapter, Your Soulmates Are Waiting, is where the love kicks in. This is where we're more positive, because actually what I'm saying in this chapter is that the soulmate relationship, the pivotal relationship in our lives, don't expect that to be just one time. Most of us are going to have more than one of these relationships. Most of us have got more than one soulmate out there waiting for us, and that's what this chapter's about.
Okay. Your elevator pitches are getting better, you know. You might actually get the job. You might get a job at the end of this,
Thanks.
Right? It's. I need you to help me. I need to. What's your definition of a soulmate?
These are people who fundamentally change our lives for the better. They are people we have such the deepest emotional connection with. It goes beyond love. These are people that are meant, if you like, in Buddhist terms, in some religions, that we see these as people who are meant to come into our lives. Some religions would see them as people we've got connections with in past lives, we'll meet again in this life. They are major players in our life story. I say that it is love, but at such a deep level. That it's these are people who certainly for a period of our life we cannot be without, and we won't be without. We will be with them.
So soulmates can be family members. They can be work colleagues.
No. In the context in which I'm writing, the soulmate is an intimate partner. Now you can have people you connect with who don't come in the realm of a sexually intimate partner. But in the context of the book, the Relationship Manifesto, the soulmate that I'm describing is someone who they are your mirror image in life. They may be completely opposite to you, but you connect with them in such a way as it feels completely, totally right. It's not that there isn't work and effort to be done in making that relationship work, sure, but there's a synergy, a natural synergy, which you won't find in any other relationship.
Your soulmates are waiting. Does everybody have one?
I would like to think so. I mean, obviously we can't say for all 6.5 billion people in the world, but I think for most of us, we will. There will be someone out there that we are going to connect with that is going to be pivotal to our life, and it's it's like when a person gets married, a person might meet the soulmate at 30, but that relationship may not last more than 10 years. It may not last more than 15 years. So what do you say to that individual at the end of that period when the relationships come to an end? Do you say to that person, I'm sorry, but that's it. That was your soulmate. You messed it up. You're not going to get another one. Well, no, because very likely you see nowadays people finding a new soulmate in their 40s, 50s, 60s. It's entirely reasonable, and it's happening.
Oh, I've just noticed your actual shows how observant I really am. I've just noticed that the title of this is actually Your Soulmates Are Waiting. It's
That's
not Your
right.
Soulmate is
No,
waiting, which I think I may have said at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, no.
We're talking about not a once-in-a-lifetime deal here.
No, that's right. I don't
Okay.
think. No, increasingly, I think this is one of the characteristics and one of the benefits of longevity. If the negative aspects of longevity, which was highlighted in the first chapter, is that we are moving in and out of relationships increasingly frequently, and therefore possibly suffering the fallout from that breakup. The positive side to longevity is that we can meet new lovers, we can meet new loves. And I'm not just talking about sexual partners, I'm talking about, in terms of this chapter, when we're looking at soulmates, these are people who we share every aspect of our being with for a period of time. I don't want people out there to make the mistake or assume, okay, well, that person's going to be the person I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. Even soulmates are not necessarily going to be with us for 40, 50, 60 years. They've got their own journey as well. But these people are highly positive to us. They come into our life at a time when we need it. They are people who we would respect and they would respect us. It's an entirely mutual relationship. Most people, if they're open to love, if they're open to this possibility, can reach out and find their soulmate. And they can find that soulmate anywhere, and increasingly are doing. And this, again, is one of the benefits of globalization. You and I, Chris, we come from families in the UK. If you went back a century, those families were probably born, lived and died in a small, probably rural community.
Yes.
They married someone local, and they had children, lived in that community, they lived their lives in that small local community. Nowadays, your soulmate may be anybody, could be anybody, anywhere in the world. The possibilities of meeting that person, particularly through the internet, are enormous.
This episode is sponsored by Facebook and LinkedIn and...
Yeah.
Well, are the characteristics of a soulmate different if you're a 20-year-old to if you're a 30-year-old to if you're a 40-year-old?
I don't think the characteristics are different, but your expectations of what you want from that soulmate might be different. I mean, if you're in your 20s and you meet your soulmate, that's a big burden, to be honest, because it does put a lot of responsibility on you to make sure that the relationship maybe even comes first, above all else. And that means putting it first before children. It means putting it first before career, education. I'm not saying that. I don't think that's for everybody.
Yes.
But it is a requirement. With a soulmate relationship, it comes first. It is. You have to protect it. And that's why they can be demanding, and then you maybe don't want that sort of relationship all the time in your life. At the same time, if you look at someone in their 50s or 60s, a soulmate relationship can be somewhat different. Take, for example, someone who's 60, retired, they meet their soulmate. There's a different lifestyle. Retired, they're not pursuing careers, there's no more children, they're probably grandparents, maybe both parties are grandparents. They're going on into their later years together in partnership and hopefully in harmony. And that's a different type of soulmate relationship, but it's just as vivid and just as important as the one that people might have in the 20s or 30s.
So am I right to say that as you get older, you're less likely to fall in lust and you're more likely to fall in love? Is there an element of that?
Yeah, I think so. The relationships that are more likely to last are those that are formed when you are in your 50s and 60s. Yeah, because you are more mature, you know yourself, you know what you like and what you don't like. You're hopefully able to make accommodations. You've learned from mistakes in the past, and you've learned from relationships in the past that have come and gone. And all this is part of your relationship career, if you like. It's part of your relationship journey, and you accumulate it, and it's positive, and you accumulate it positively, hopefully, so that when you come into your 50s and 60s, far from being at the end of your relationship career, it has a new impetus that can move forward for many decades, and is doing increasingly with people around the world now.
Yes. Interesting term, your relationship career. Are you going to have relationship career counsellors? Or do they exist already somewhere?
I'm a bit, the idea of the career is one whereby you have some control over it. You have some direction. You feel you have an idea where you want it to go. I mean, and often this is the case with women in their 30s, for example. They may have been players in multiple relationships in their 20s, pursuing a career, education, whatever. They get to the 30s and maybe the idea of having children comes along. But then again, they may think, well, I want children, but I don't want marriage.
Yes.
I want to be in a sort of peripheral relationship which gives me a child, but I'm prepared to look after the child on my own. And I've come across many middle-class women around the world with that aim in mind. In that respect, it is a career. It's not. It's something that one is forging for themselves as they go through life, and both men and women can do this.
You have the term relationship coach in your title, or whatever you call your subline or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you making a job for yourself? Yeah. It's by it.
I've never made any money out of it.
You have to move to the States. I understand in the States there's a lot
believe
of
so, yeah.
highly paid relationship coaches.
I believe so. I wouldn't move to the States for anything.
Right, careful what you say. No. We have a global audience here. North American people, and that wasn't Canadian. Delete this bit, right? Just block that bit out.
I'm very happy in Shanghai.
We are actually very global people here.
We are very global. I mean, I get in the last, even today, I've received emails from two or three people. And mostly I have to say it's women who contact me about advice on relationships. So it's happening all the time, and it's again, it's getting these contacts and these experiences of working with people, men and women, about their lives and love lives. You build up this knowledge base. A coach, it's a neat term, and it's an Americanism, but it is a way of just saying, well, okay, you're there to offer advice in a non-judgmental way based on your own experiences and knowledge and research. Yes. I mean, my academic background is in gender identity, sexuality, and particularly in men and masculinities, but you can take that as a platform for then looking at the dynamics of relationships, both heterosexual and same-sex relationships, as they're operating around the world.
What have we not covered in this episode? Your soulmates are waiting. I'm deliberately saying the plural now. It's I'm feeling very shy about missing the S off the end at the beginning. So what is the meat in this chapter?
Okay, one of the things I would say is we shouldn't be looking for every relationship to be the soulmate relationship. We shouldn't be looking for every relationship we go into to be happy ever after. If you want happy ever after, then go and watch a Walt Disney movie. You're not going to get it in your own life, and you shouldn't even look for it. If it comes, it'll come because you've prepared for it, and you've changed, and you've negotiated together along the way. One of the things that happens in any relationship is that the parties in that relationship evolve, move on, change, adapt, mature. So you, rather than expect to have some sort of Walt Disney ending, where we all drift off into the sunset, it's recognise that the relationships you're going into are dynamic and evolving, changeable and exciting. The challenge with the soulmate relationship is that this is a fundamental earth mover. This is not a relationship which is... I personally, I don't even think you can avoid them. I think the soulmates that we have out there, I think they're going to come to us anyway. We're going to meet them anyway, regardless. They're unavoidable. And here I'm speaking from a particular spiritual background, if you like, philosophical background. I don't want to particularly get into that, but my own experience of life is it recognises that there are some people you just cannot avoid, and these people have come into your life for a particular reason, a particular purpose. These soulmates, and there often is more than one, are positive. They're not negative. They're positive. At the same time, even though they are positive, they themselves have got their own life journey, and that may mean that they've got other soulmates to meet in the future. The important thing in all of this is to, if the relationship is coming to a conclusion, to part on friends, to part amicably. And the soulmate relationships are those usually where you do part amicably. The love never actually goes. It's always there. It's just that you don't live together anymore. You move on into new relationships.
I'm glad you mentioned the word exciting, because some of what you've been saying has been pretty pessimistic, right? It's throw away all your old values, boys and girls. It's we're in a new age, and your soulmates are waiting. But life doesn't always owe you a living. You have to get off your butt. If you sit in front of this TV with your on the sofa, you're not going to find your soulmate. You have to work. You're a bit fatalistic just now about build it, they will come.
Okay, let me stop.
Be a bit more proactive, maybe.
No, I don't. I think they'll come. But how you respond to them depends on how open you are to the possibility. Sure, if you're sitting at home waiting for the soulmate to come knocking on your door, that's unlikely to happen. Though it could be the milkman.
Or the milk woman. For the gender people who are listening to this out there, I'll remind him now and again that...
it could be someone you meet on the internet.
Yes.
It could be someone you're working with.
Yes.
It could be someone who you bump into at the bus stop.
Yes.
It could be the taxi driver. It could be the bus driver. You just don't know. But there are people who... all the people I've come across, all the people I've researched, all the people that I've met, every one of them, without doubt, without question, has had someone like this in their life. Now, in most cases, that person, that soulmate for them, has not been someone they've stayed with all their life. But these are people you never, ever forget.
Yes.
They change you. They're part of your change. How it works, I have no idea. I just know it does. And why does the word soulmate is so important is because it's used as a currency nowadays in relationships to signal that pure love, that relationship which is bigger than life, almost. Now, I'm recognizing that. At the same time, I'm saying that you may well have more than one. Again, we come back to the multiplicity of relationships, the changeability of relationships, the possibility, even the likelihood of different relationships coming into one's life. That is the key theme for this book, that happy ever after is fine for the movies. If you lay it on every relationship you go into, you're going to not only be disappointed, you're going to be laden yourself with baggage of regret and guilt. The important part of this book is to recognize, avoid that. Be open. And if you're open to love, then it'll come.
Yes. But it has a sell-by date, which is 10 years.
It may well have a sell-by date of 10 years. But that's 10 years, that is 10 years whereby you've lived a full, good relationship, vibrant, rewarding relationship in that decade. It may not be 10 years. It might go on to 10 or 20. The point about, I said in the previous chapter about the relationship breakpoint, is not to signal an inevitable end after 10 years, but for people to be aware that they don't burden the relationship with the inevitability of happy ever after for the rest of my life.
Yes.
Because when you do that, it's an impossible burden. It's an unreasonable burden.
Yes.
The point about 10 years is that you have that break-off point and you can quit. Both parties, either one. It takes one to drop.
Okay, but that's more in a later chapter, I think. That's that, and we're returning to the 10-year sell-by date every
Oh, you raised it,
now.
Chris.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Actually, you're absolutely right. Do soulmates always come from the same social economic group?
No, absolutely not. No, but No, they don't always come from the same economic group. And one of the things we're seeing, and it's interesting also, one of the things we're seeing around the world is the increase in interracial marriages. So we're seeing international marriages across cultures, people moving around the world, like you and I have done.
Yes.
And you and I know many other people similar to that. I've got friends of different nationalities who married men and women of different nationalities living in countries that we're not born in. This is globalization. So alongside that, there might be similarities with many of these relationships in terms of education, but there's often not similarities in terms of language, and very often there's not similarities in terms of culture. And we're seeing much more of that now. I think that's an exciting, a very positive aspect of globalization. The emergence of cross-national marriages, partnerships, relationships, where you have to learn not just about the other person, but you have to about the other person's individual character and personality, but also about the other person's culture, maybe that other person's language. So this is something that is this superb. It's one of the great benefits of globalization, and it's been rewarding for me to have that experience. I couldn't live out here in Thailand without my particular soulmate, who you know is Mam, and it makes it a vivid and rewarding experience to have her in my life. At the same time, Mam and I take our relationship on a day-by-day basis. I don't have any expectations it's going to last the rest of my life. I hope it will, but I don't know. We take it on a day-by-day basis.
Yes.
We live in the moment, not in tomorrow.
How does ageism fit into this? Is your soulmate normally plus or minus, for argument's sake, plus or minus 5 years of your age?
No, not necessarily. No. I've in my own life, I've had a couple of soulmates, and one of them was slightly older than me. One of them much younger. But the age is not an issue. Having said that, I think it is for men who reach a certain age in the 50s or 60s. I think if there is a big age gap, then it's not precluding the possibility of meeting someone, that soulmate, being much younger than you. But
yes.
I think we have to be wary of that. I think often age can be a big barrier that's not easy to overcome.
Yes. Your soulmates are waiting. Is your soulmate, and I'm hesitating when I'm asking you this because it could turn the 30-minute podcast into a 3-hour podcast, is your soulmate always the opposite sex?
Not at all. No, not at all. If you're asking that personally for me,
no, that's
okay. Opening this out,
and again,
okay.
pull back on your research
Sure.
and the experiences you have.
Oh no, absolutely. Same-sex relationships have soulmates just as same as heterosexual relationships have soulmates. Love crosses all social, sexual boundaries. It encompasses all social, sexual categories, identities. The people, although we have 6.5 billion people are all different. They all have one. They all probably. I'm saying this. It's obviously quite generalised, but
having talked to all 6.5 billion
6.5 billion, yeah. I think there aren't many people who don't want love in their life.
Yes.
That some people may be motivated by money. Some people by career. Some people by children. Some people have family. Some people have sex. Whatever. But regardless of that, there aren't many people I've met who don't want love
from somebody else other than themselves, because there's a distinction there, isn't there?
Yeah, I think this is coming on to another chapter about love. Who do you love, and who's the one in your life? I'm not going to go into that right now, but what I will say is that gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, transsexual individuals, they all want love. They're all seeking love in some way. And why not? And they can find it. And they, it doesn't matter whether you're gay or bi or lesbian or whatever, there's no reason why there isn't a soulmate for you. And quite often there is. We're seeing In fact, it's ironic, isn't it, that as heterosexual marriages decline in popularity, we're seeing gay marriages increase in popularity.
Is that what's happening?
Oh, yeah. More and more gay relationships.
Globally or just Western?
Where it's legal, where it's allowed, and it's being allowed in around the West increasingly now. Other parts of the world, not only is it not allowed, but it's it can be fatal to present yourself as a gay person.
Yes.
But certainly, I know many gay men and many lesbians who are in soulmate relationships.
Yes.
Have soulmate love and dedicated, and they have the same. Maybe they have the same. No different, the same expectations as a heterosexual relationship where they want it to go on forevermore. And so I'm speaking to them as well. I'm speaking to the gay couple and saying, well, look, you're in a relationship. It's love, and it's rewarding, hopefully, and it's mutual and highly beneficial for you. But if you lay on the burden of it lasting the rest of your life, that is the beginning of a problem. And if you go in with the expectation that you live in the moment, and you have a break-off point that you can cut out if you have to, you live in the moment rather than live in tomorrow.
Can you have a soulmate with no physical commitment? I've not put that right. With no physical relation, obviously living together physically, but with no maybe sexual is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, sure.
Does soulmates mean sex must be part of it?
No, not at all. No. Again, it's something that people negotiate, individuals and couples negotiate it for themselves. And the other thing I would say, I think if you have a soulmate, even if you do eventually separate for whatever reason, that person still is your soulmate. It doesn't stop being he or she doesn't stop being your soulmate. And it's, in that respect, they are unique relationships. But the other thing I want to say, and again, it's something that's going to come up later in another chapter, is there are different types of relationships. The soulmate relationship is just one of about 4 or 5 types of relationships that we get into.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't want to privilege it. There are other very important types of relationships which work for us at different times of our life.
Yes.
So that's the context for this. The soulmate is just one type.
Yes.
And there are others which are important in their own way.
Yes.
And important at different times of our life cycle.
Yes. And if listeners want a reminder of the episodes and the titles in the chapters of the book, they're all on the blog, Relationship Manifesto.posterous, posterous.com. So you can see them there. And I'm looking at actually number 4, chapter 4 is chapter 5, the 3 identities of every relationship. So that's touching on what you said there. We're coming up to our 30 minutes already. This time flies. If I was sitting on my sofa watching TV, have you got any quick tips? What's the doctor's quick tips on finding my soulmate? What can I do? Do I go online? Do I go out to clubs? Because if you're a youngster, I would feel more comfortable going out to clubs, and as I get older, that's more difficult. So what practical tips are there to help find your soulmate?
First of all, you have to love yourself.
Okay.
That's one thing. Secondly, you have to be open to love, to the possibility. You haven't got to close it off. And thirdly, you don't want to be bringing baggage from previous relationships into the next one, because that creates a barrier between you and the possibility of love with your next partner.
What do you mean by that? Can you illustrate what do you mean by bringing extra baggage in?
Okay, the best one example would be where you've been hurt in a previous relationship, you containing a lot of anger, disappointment, regret, guilt, whatever, and you don't reconcile that. You don't recognize it and move on from it. You take it with you into the next one. And 2 things can happen then. First of all is you start to look for patterns of behavior in the new relationship that you had in the first one, and you overcompensate in trying to avoid it. And that it's an unnatural situation, and it creates its own difficulties, because your new partner doesn't know what he or she's doing wrong. you've already created a problem before you've even got into it.
Yes.
You're looking for a problem before it's arisen.
Yes.
That's one way. That's one way where baggage comes in. The other way that baggage comes in is you've not reconciled anger. So you often come into a new relationship still angry from the past one, and you feed that anger into the next one.
So are we getting different types of soulmate? Have you just described what might be called the revenge soulmate?
Well, no, you're asking me about how to avoid spoiling the soulmate relationship before it started, and baggage is an important one. Letting go of that, moving on, and the way to do that is to move from a relationship and not see it as a failure, which is the first chapter, which is why the chapters there at the beginning.
Yes.
You don't see it as a failure; you see it as moving on in a positive way.
Yes.
But loving yourself, again, that's another chapter. It's important. It's absolutely key. Loving yourself, knowing yourself, and being open to the possibility of love. Because soulmate love, because it's so powerful, it's where we're so much at risk.
Okay.
It's where we're so exposed emotionally. And that's the thing about love. We put so much into it. We invest so much in it. We're so afraid of losing it. You have to be comfortable in yourself. And maybe it may well be that with a soulmate relationship, if you're not mature in yourself, it's very difficult to hold it together. And I think often with a soulmate relationship, it works best if, coming back to an earlier question of yours, it works best if both parties are very equitable in terms of their maturity, stage of maturity. Now with men, because they mature so late, women mature so earlier, it can be that there might be a 10, 20 year difference between the ages, but it's about maturity, about emotional maturity between the two parties. If that's there, it's much more likely the soulmate relationship is going to last. But being open, I don't think you need to be, I mean, by all means go and look for love, but with the soulmate one, that will find you. That's going to come, whether you like it or not. It's just when you're ready for it.
I'm not as fatalistic as you are.
No,
I think you have to work at it. Except personally, I don't know what I would do in that case. What tips would you? Can you bottle it and say, drink this and you'll find your soulmate?
No.
Here's the itinerary for the week. Do this.
It'll come when it's ready. It'll come when it's ready.
Really?
But it's. I come back to what I said a moment ago about being ready in yourself for it.
Yes.
It's you have to create in yourself a certain positive energy in order to allow this soulmate connection to arrive. And I'm not just talking about day-to-day love relationships or sex relationships. I'm talking about someone who is going to be central to your life for a period of time.
Yes.
You cannot be without them. You can maybe have other relationships come and go. I'm not saying that necessarily inevitably has to be a relationship that's entirely faithful. That's another issue. But it's someone who you cannot be without.
Yes.
And I've seen many relationships like this. This goes beyond sexual desire. It goes beyond what I call everyday love. It goes beyond functional relationships. These are not peripheral relationships. These are central relationships. And having one or two of them in our life, that's probably the most we're going to get. But I believe, call me romantic, I believe
You're romantic.
Everybody's going to get one.
Really?
Absolutely.
You're very much an optimist.
In that respect, yeah,
yes.
I see it. I see it. But you see, what I'm trying to say to people is, okay, this is a soulmate relationship. This is someone who you will move on with, develop with, and learn so much with. But just don't expect it to last for 80 years.
Yes.
You don't want it to. It's about movement. This is the contingency at the heart of our living, at the heart of our life. It's always been thus. It's just now more so today than it's ever been in the past.
Yes. I think it might be a good time to start. We've gone over a little bit from our 30 minutes. As mentioned before, we're going to release one of these podcasts once a week until we've got through the whole 14-plus series, and release them at weekends. And actually, sometime I'm going to try and fit in. I want some practical. I want a guide. I want to sort of I want that sort of magazine type, tick these boxes to find your soulmate routine. I'm too much of a. I need a plan, right?
You're a man, Chris. You've got to have a plan. A man without a plan is not a man.
I need that. Well, Stephen, thanks for sharing that. The next one, the next episode will after your soulmates are waiting is not all relationships are about love, and that's the one we'll touch on next. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope you've enjoyed that, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.